We are here today to talk about a unique concept in the study of anatomy and physiology. This book is a study course that is designed to teach the entire family. The group that compiled this material is represented here today by Fran Fisher, and she's going to explain this information with us. Tell us, Fran, why you're so excited about this material.
Well, as I began to study this, I got more and more and more excited because I realized that this was another proof that the Bible was the truth about God and about His love for His creation.
How could the study of anatomy and physiology prove to us that the Bible is really true?
It's the only book that contains the spiritual design of the body, which actually applies to the physical design of the body.
I didn't realize that the design of the body is mentioned in the Bible.
Let's go back to the beginning and see how this came about. When God finished the world, He said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness." And so if we want to know more about God, and it seems like today everybody's trying to find out more about God, and they're all looking for some kind of deeper spiritual experience, then it would only stand to reason that if we studied the design of the body, we would know more about God.
So you think there's a clear picture in the Bible about this?
Very clear, very clear. And you know, today we're sort of mixed up about things. Just as the parent is not the child, and the child is not the parent. So we're not God, but we're made in the image of God. And so when Adam and Eve were made, they were created for fellowship with God, and God came down every day and He talked to them. And then a strange thing happened. When Satan explained to them that God was trying to withhold something really important from them, they believed that. And then they chose to believe Satan instead of God. And then they didn't want to see God anymore. And they went and hid. And when they hid, God came looking for them. And that's been the story of the whole world from then on. God looking for man, and man just pushing him back and putting him back in the corner.
So why would man want to push God away?
Well, remember when you were little and you did something bad? And you didn't want to see your parents coming then, did you? And that's why people didn't want to be with God or have God with them. And finally man became so wicked that they were destroying each other and just doing terrible things to each other. And so God decided that He needed to put an end to that world. And He invited whoever would like to be saved from there to get on the ark. And only, as you know, only 8 people wanted to be close to God, wanted to have anything to do with Him. And the rest of them were destroyed. And because of the nature of what happened when man sinned, and his whole entire bent changed. Now he wasn't bent to be friendly with God. So soon after the flood, the same thing happened again. And so God chose Abraham to be His representative. And He said, "Abraham, I'm going to make a whole nation out of you that can show the world how much I love them and how I want to be close to them." And so that's what God wanted always. So you know the story of how they went into Egypt and they became slaves in Egypt. They were called Israelites at that time. When God brought them out of Egypt and they crossed the Red Sea in a miraculous way, then He came down to talk to them personally. And you know what their comment was after He talked to them? "We don't want to talk to Him anymore. We don't want to talk to you, God. Moses, you go up and talk to God, and you come back down and you tell us what He had to say." And God wanted to dwell with them. So He said, well, let's do the next best thing. Let's build a building, and I'll set it in the midst of you so I can still be with you. And they did that. And He told them exactly how to make it. And He told them over and over, make it exactly like the pattern that I show you. Now remember that we're all made in the image of God. And so the temple was made in the image of God. And it was patterned after the body.
Is there a place in the Bible that tells us that we are the temple of God?
Yes, there's many. And maybe one of the best ones is in 2 Corinthians 6, verses 16 through 18. Would you like to read that for us?
Sure, let me look that up. 2 Corinthians what?
6 and verses 16 through 18.
It says, "And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord. And touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty." And it really does say right there, ye are the temple of the living God.
Yes, it does. And also there's another place that's really important, and that's in John 2, where Jesus said if they destroyed the temple, that he would build it in 3 days. Would you like to read that for us? It's verses 19 through 21.
John 2, 19 through 21.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. So it says it there again.
Yes, it does. And you see, every time that the Jews wanted to talk about anything spiritual, they wanted to talk about the physical building. They said, you're going to destroy the temple, and it took all these years to build it. They never understood the concept that they were the temple, that that's where God wanted to dwell, was right in them. And so what did they do? They killed him because they didn't want him close. Again, we have the same story of pushing God away, pushing God away. God's always trying to get close to us, and we're forever pushing him away.
And so this book is really talking about the body that God prepared for Jesus?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, the title of the book is A Body Hast Thou Prepared Me, and that's from Hebrews. And so remember that we're made in the image of God. So let's look at the plan now. Let's go and look at the design. Here is the design of the temple as it sat in the middle of the camp, and you can see there's a fence around it. And every part of this temple meant something. It was all a symbol of Jesus, who we are made in the image of. And so there were 12 camps around the temple, 12 tribes. They each camped around the temple. And it's interesting because there's 12 systems that run the body. And you see, for instance, you'll take Judah. Judah was the communicator of the family. They always chose him to communicate with people like the Pharaoh, and he was the one who led out. He was a leader. If you know people like this, they're communicators, they're leaders. They take in information from everywhere and they feed it out to the people. And so that's the nervous system. That's the way the nervous system operates, and that's how a Judah will operate. Then the next one down is Issachar. And you see Issachar was called in the Bible a strong donkey, and they're the support. And